Michael Meehan is with us this morning. Michael, good morning to you. How are you?
Good, very good, Jared. Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. Anthony Moses just tipped Galway for the All-Ireland final there. So,
I heard that.
yeah,
I heard that. Yeah,
Johnny,
it's
Johnny's been
Johnny's.
beaming since Saturday. So, all is good.
Yeah, as has everyone down here, and even before Saturday, it kicked off really well down in Roscommon with our under-17s winning the All Ireland against Mayo. So it was a great weekend on the Galway front for the lads anyway. But yeah, we're very excited. It's a great place to be, and it's been a long time. It's been far too long. And I suppose you'd only love to have the 3-week build-up now for the whole of the population of Galway and supporters to get into it that little bit. But look, that's not a reason to change what they've done. But it's just in times like this, the bigger the build-up as a supporter, the better. Maybe as a player, a 2-week window is probably ideal. They'll get media out of the way straight away this week, and there's very little time. And both teams are ready. Like, they're not going to change, improve anything really between now and the All Ireland final, bar maybe some tactical things, fitness, etc., conditioning. It's just maintenance now. So it's a brilliant place to be in as a player. 12, 13 days out from the big match.
Let's talk about Comer, because he said himself he's had a rodeo with injuries. Like he has, we've missed some of the peak years of Damien Comer when he burst onto the scene like a bull. Everybody's like, oh, this is going to be one of the best footballers in the country for a long period to come. But then he just disappeared for about 18 months with an injury and all the stuff around the diagnosis and all that kind of stuff. That here he is back, starring in an All-Ireland semi-final. Like, he gets the bit that he deserves, which a lot of people don't always get in sport. Sport's really cruel, but for somebody like him to be the star on Saturday evening was just desserts, really.
Absolutely, yeah. I think it could well be about his 9th year now, and you're right, bar a couple of good years at the start where he was young and he was just breaking through. He had a clean enough run through, but over the last 5 years, he's had just on and off and in and out with injuries, and a difficult time put in, especially when you're hitting your mid-20s. You're at the peak of your powers, I think, as well, or certainly very close to them. And he didn't get a chance to go back to back or play leagues, play championships, from one into the other. It was very broken, and he was being rushed back from matches here and there. And it's never a good place to be in as a player. It's never really an advantage for the team either. It generally doesn't work out. But certainly, even this year he had been steady through the league. I think if you look back over his score, and he scored in every league match that he played in, he was getting goals as well. I think we've all really. I never forgot how dangerous he was, heading for the onion bag, as we call it down here. But he showed everyone again and pointed everyone again at the weekend how dangerous he is in that regard. So he's going to take a lot of watching. He's high in confidence. Hopefully he's fit and healthy. And it's just with a player like that, anything can happen. Anything can come off it, be it through him directly or through one of the lads around him. It just causes panic. And I'd say he's a nightmare for a backline to have to come up against, because he has serious pace. He can turn. He's agile for his size, and he's a man mountain of a man as well. So he's got a lot going for him. And it's going to be the planning around what Kerry are going to do to nullify him is going to be a large part of their work this week.
I think, Michael, that's one of the special things about the Galway story this year. Like, if Galway don't win the All Ireland, I think they've created so many memories, and just to get. Like he and Paul Conroy back in Croke Park, like the injuries of Paul Conroy has come through as well, and like this beautiful standard of old school football that he plays, like beautiful kick passer, and he and Damien Comer to get their kind of place the sun, and the roar when he came off was actually spine tingling on Saturday. Like the roar for Comer coming off the pitch and having that, like, the most certain standing ovation you ever get. Like there is a bit something like special about what's this Galway story this year.
Yeah, I agree. We've Paul, I suppose, has been on the forefront throughout the year, because he was kicking outrageous scores from midfield there, latter stages of the league, and into the championship. And that just pushed him to the limelight there. And I think Paul he could be in year 15 now of his Galway career, which is quite phenomenal. If someone could tell you get 9 or 10 good years, you'd get snap, as an inter-county player. You'd snap his hand off. But I think Paul, bar that horrible injury that he had, he has been ever present, for those 15 years, missing that 1 year in the middle. So and to come back to where he's at is remarkable. But yeah, I suppose there's the fondness, or there's the thinking back to the glory days. And when I talk about them, Johnny, it's back to 98 and 01. That there's just that fondness and that feeling that, when Galway are good, and their tails are up, they're dangerous, and there's just that sense. And I think there's that sense is there again. And like you said, be that they deliver an All-Ireland final or not, or victory in the All-Ireland final or not, that will be there, and there's something to build on. There's a lot. I think the public have reacted and responded, and I suppose that's in no short part to Pádraig and his management team, and how how I suppose open he's been and direct he's been, and he stated 2 or 3 years ago on one of the shows here that he wanted to win an All-Ireland, and people were probably looking sideways at him when they heard that being played. But
you got to remember, Galway were about 33-1 shots, give or take, around that time. Galway have been a complete irrelevance, and so it was a brave thing to say, and he could have been mocked for that.
Absolutely. And I suppose, and when you look back over the last year or two, then people are saying, "Hang on, what's going on here?" And I remember after the Connacht final in Croke Park last year against Mayo, and talking on off the ball about was it time for him to go or should he stay? And so you're right, Johnny. That's where it was. But I suppose sport is funny, and certainly I think sports through COVID, had its extra challenges for everyone. And I'm sure the addition of Cian O'Neill as well, and his experience and knowledge has added hugely to the setup this year. And the players have reacted. This lad standing up all over the pitch now. I think it's no surprise around here. But John Daly has been exceptional, and he showed it at the weekend there in turnovers as a rock in the centre of your defence. And just he's the sweetest left foot on the pitch nearly. He'll pick a pass. He took a score for himself as well. So you have players like that, and along with Damien, actually, John Daly is someone who didn't get a great run of things in the past with injury. He's a young lad, but he's had 2 or 3 serious injuries and had missed a lot of time. So he should have more games played with Galway as well. But thankfully, it's coming right for those lads now and the rest of their teammates at the right time.
In terms of what they're actually able to do on the field as well, there has been an evolution. So, when Pádraig came in, he was like, we're going to go back to the old school of Galway football, which is much more fundamentally attacking. And then, that changed because that didn't work. And now it's kind of an amalgamation of what was there previously under the previous management team and the ability to attack. So, Anthony Moyes made the point that they've got multiple game plans now, which means that they can, like they did against Derry, confuse Derry a little bit by giving Derry something they hadn't seen or expected from Galway. Can they do that against Kerry as well?
Yeah, I suppose talking about the Derry game first, they matched up well. You kind of have to fight fire with fire, but they were very comfortable doing that. And I think we were very, very happy with the position that they were in going in at half-time, or even, when they're 3-0 down with 20-25 minutes gone. I know it looks bad with no score. They held scoreless for so long, but I think they would have been quite content to what they were limiting Derry to, given what we had seen from Derry throughout Ulster and in the quarter-final. But then it's a very different change. It's going to be a different type of game against Kerry. There's going to be far more direct ball, diagonal ball, faster ball being put into pockets of space, between the half-back line and the full-back line, even longer into O'Shea. We saw the goal, Shawnee Shea's goal, was a huge long ball in, and we don't have to think too far back with those kind of balls. Called consternation, I think, for Galway in the Armagh game. So, and Jack O'Connor will know that. So we'll see an aerial bombardment. We'll see a directness from Kerry, and it's what Galway do, to deal with that. I'd like to think that Galway, on the front foot, then the pace that they attacked with and they came out with the ball and ahead of the ball against Derry, and in every game, I think to the Mayo game and Roscommon games as well, they're very athletic now, and I think they can take anyone on, if they turn over a ball going forward, especially when you have a Comer, Paul Conroy linking up the play, Shane Walsh as well, who was very well marshalled the last day from play, but he still is. He's going to be a huge threat, and he's going to be a huge part of what Kerry have to do as well. So, I just think it's a very different. There's a lot of different conversations being had now this week for Galway and for Kerry with what, and when they're planning what might happen here, and here. But I think there'll be a certain amount of, we'll deal with that, but we'll impose our game as well and ask for Galway. We'll ask questions off Kerry, see can they match up against our crown jewels.
It's funny, given the point you make about the aerial bombardment, that we didn't see that much of it from Derry. I do wonder, is that because they weren't allowed? Was there obviously there's a conscious effort not to allow those big high booming balls go into your full back line, but did Galway do something specific that prevented those balls from being delivered?
I wouldn't have said so. I think from what I've seen of Derry, they try to do what they're good at. They try to set up, they're putting 4 and 5 bodies inside the 21. And they were keeping the ring of space out around, and they wanted to free up their strike runners. McKinless and Rogers, in fairness, got through for a couple early on, but they didn't, I think, break through and get bearing down on goal, at 100 miles an hour as much as they thought they would inside the, from the D in, let's say. Galway didn't let that happen. I thought Galway were quite well set up and dealt really well with Derry in that regard. So I'd say that as much as anything else, they wanted to stick to their game plan and to implement that, and they felt that would have been, the best route of attack. There was times I can remember seeing Conor Glass wrestling with Conor Gleeson, the Galway goalie, at some point. It possibly was it the first or second half? I can't remember now, but I was there. Okay, there's a ball coming in here, because he was on his toes, in his way, but the ball didn't come in. So I'm sure there was a plan, but it didn't materialise at all.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Pádraig said that he totally played that down after the game about the high ball. He just said, well, that was just a kind of a mad game against Armagh. We just did a few things, but it's interesting because obviously this is going to be a massive factor. It will be a factor the next day, simple as.
It will. Like we're a long time looking at Kerry with Donaghy and Gooch and the direct ball, and I know that those two guys are gone now, but it's still very evident in their play. It's very natural. If you go back to Bomber Liston, it's always been in their DNA. The quickest route to goal is the direct route, and the ball will move faster. So that's a lot of the thinking behind it. And I'm sure Clifford is a giant of a man, and he's good hands. Agini as well in there. They have those options. So it's very natural for Kerry to do that. So we will be seeing it. We will be seeing it the next day.
The Galway Kerry game that's just had to look back the year there that you will possibly mostly remembered by 2008. So we're talking like 14 years ago now. What was your record in Croke Park for Galway?
Oh, for Galway, not good, I suppose. That a couple of quarterfinals, 03, draw with Donegal, 05, a loss to Cork, 08, a loss to Kerry. There might have been a backdoor in 04 against Tyrone, but no, that it was.
The Cork game as well. Then that was your last, was it?
13. That was the last time I was in Croke. Yeah, I was in Croke playing. I was back.
Yeah, when you got that amazing goal at the end, which was kind of cruel, but I guess the context here is 2001 Galway were expected to be this dominant force, and when Pádraig Joyce said that amazing in the second half. But this Galway team has just come through 2 games in Croke Park where they've just won, and one of them was obviously mad, but the other one was just it was almost like a formulaic in the second half. So the hoodoo was just gone all of a sudden after all these years. We're 16 years or whatever we didn't win a Croke Park. It's gone. It's just gone like that.
Yeah, do you know? Well, I suppose there was a Super 8 victory against Kerry there, wasn't there? As well, under Kevin Walsh. So the rot had stopped, but it was a real monkey. It was a gorilla on the back there for a long time for Galway. But that it is. It's well and truly gone. And the Armagh game, I'd say the Armagh game, because it was won and it was lost, and it was so mental. I think that was worth maybe 2 or 3 games of experience in Croke Park, to my mind. Even with the crowd that was in there for the extra time and for the penalties as well. Because up until that, there's only 3 of those lads who played in that All-Ireland semi-final against Derry 4 or 5 years ago. So the experience of a big match day in Croke Park with the stadium 3/4 full or more.
And for Conor Gleeson as well, Michael, just to come through that, because it would have been tough for him. It was just one of these mad days. And he looked like there wasn't a bother on him on Saturday.
No, he was fine. I'm sure the goal would have just took a gloss of it at the end. From a defensive point of view, the way they got through and just slotted it in. No one will be happy with that, which is a pity. The game was won, but it's nice to kind of shut that out, and that will wrangle with them a little bit. But no, Conor was fine, and like there's going to be no changes. He's been in now for all of the championship. Conor Flaherty got injured who played most of the league, not all the league, but he got injured in the league final, had to come off, and he hasn't even returned to the bench yet. So there's going to be there's no changes there. Conor is the man. His kick out strategy, they're familiar with now. It's direct. He's not going to take on any risk. He's going to move the ball.
Well, I was going to say that to you. Is the All-Ireland final the time for Conor to be our auxiliary 15th outfield player and just give it a go against Kerry?
Well, funny enough, I've played against Conor in club league matches, and he often plays midfield for his club. So it's not totally alien to him being out the field, no more than any goalie I suppose we see now. But I think Saturday evening was a good reminder to most as to when the stakes are high. Maybe I think they'll leave well enough alone, and he has come out, but it'll be few and far between, and he certainly won't be venturing beyond the 45. I'd say if he does. He's going to leave that to the guys in front of him. Damo Comer kind of served up the reminder there, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, what a finish.
It was, yeah. It was fast. It was brilliant. But he was on it all day, and he probably could have walked it in, and if you wanted, he could have sold it all the way in and just tapped it in if you wanted. But he just had that control, and it was funny that Brendan Rodgers had taken a couple of scores. Now, I suppose they weren't always directly opposite each other, so you can't just say, his man scored 2 points. Because the way they drop off and the mark, someone else was probably lined up for Brendan Rodgers potentially for one or both of those points. But I remember watching the league game, and Galway shipped 4 goals or took 4 goals, scored 4 goals on Derry, and I just thought you could see even in that game the highlights. I thought Comer was just able. It just looked like he was able to get away. He had the measure of Rodgers that game. And he was involved in a couple of those goals, probably scoring one of them. So I'd say Damien was very confident going into that match, knowing if he was one-on-one with Rodgers, he was going to take him on. And we saw that, clear as day for the first goal. And the second goal, was just the icing on the cake. He, as I said, he could have walked it in, he could have rolled it on the ground, but he just glided it in. And it was, elation and sheer confidence out of him.
Michael, great stuff. Enjoy the next couple of weeks, and we'll talk to you again, no doubt. Cheers.
Okay, cheers, guys.
That's Michael Meehan giving us some thoughts on Galway.